Picture this. You're out shopping with your wife. She's a former Navy lieutenant and martial arts expert. When out of nowhere, an irate customer mistakes her for an employee and decides to get confrontational. Sounds unbelievable, right? But it gets even crazier. In today's video, we're diving into a story where a typical Valentine's Day outing turns into an unforgettable showdown. Stick around to see how this ex-Navy lieutenant handles an aggressive customer, and some other great stories from the r/I don't work here lady subreddit. Story 1. Alright, so my best friend is finally getting married. As the best man, I am way far behind on things such as getting my own formal wear tailored, as I've lost a ton of weight over the past year. Also, it being Valentine's Day today, my wife and I decided to go to the appointment at the local shop together, before grabbing some wings and beers for happy hour. As I'm standing in the mini funhouse of mirrors, with what appears to be a 207-year-old Asian lady controlling my every move, saying no, no, no anytime I even shift my weight, I hear a man saying excuse me over and over again. He's roughly 6 feet tall and 200 pounds. We assumed he was looking for another member of staff, and the three of us ignored him entirely. Finally, after the third or fourth excuse me, the guy screams, "Are you effing deaf?" as he grabs my wife's arm and spins her around violently. Now, my wife is 5 feet tall and about 105 pounds. However, she is the daughter of a retired Air Force colonel and current agent of the Alphabet Gang and retired Navy lieutenant herself. My wife has years of training in a few schools of martial arts, such as Krav Maga and Taekwondo. As this man spun her around and towered over her, she elbowed him in the diaphragm and firmly but gently pushed him back away from her while stating, "I don't work here, and keep your hands off of me." Having God knows how many needles and such all throughout my inner thigh and nether regions, I wasn't really able to move, so I did the next best thing and attempted to tell the guy to F off and leave my wife alone. Before I could get the words out, however, the guy had decided to charge my wife in a full fighting stance. With nothing else really to do, my wife took a half step back into a stance I'm used to seeing on Saturday mornings as I meandered into the basement with a cup of coffee. As the dude draws back a punch, leaning all of his weight into it, my wife spins, and as she comes back around, the Doc Marten she's wearing connects with the side of the guy's face. Unlike in the movies, he didn't go flying through the air spinning. His trajectory immediately changed to that of a crashing airplane. Fully unconscious, the dude turned into one of those circular racks of clothing, almost completely disappearing inside. Finally, another member of staff comes running, saying the police are on their way. It took about 3 minutes for the police to arrive, and as they walked in, the dude was just finding his way out of the tangle of expensive dress clothes I thought would be his tomb. With statements from myself, the 2 staff, and finally cameras, the dude not only found himself with a shattered orbital and a few broken teeth, but he was handcuffed to the gurney as they loaded him into an ambulance. I swear, I can't take her anywhere. Story 2. A woman confuses me for an employee, and she gets locked out of the store, leaving her groceries behind. So last night I finished up my long and tiring shift as an EMT. The calls weren't bad, but there were a lot of them, and we were all over the county. My shift is over, I change back into my comfy clothes, and I head to the store to get something for dinner. I get there just in time, since they're closing in 10 minutes. I assure the cashier that I was just grabbing something quick, and I go and pick up a lasagna from the frozen section. I grab them and turn to head to the checkout when I hear someone calling out. I turn and look to see a woman, and she snaps off "I need you to go in the back and get me a pack of the frozen pretzels." I say that I don't work here and point out where an employee just went behind an end cap. The woman snaps back with, "You do work here and you need to stop being lazy and get me my pretzels." I again say I don't work here and turn to walk to the self-check. She flips out and storms off muttering about lazy employees and managers. I finish checking out and I'm grabbing my stuff and leaving when I see her again with her cart and a manager. She yells, "There she is! That's the lazy bitch!" and starts towards me. I'm not even going to engage, and so I hold up my receipt and my one item to the self-checkout girl and walk out. I hear the manager raising his voice and saying, "Ma'am, ma'am." Turns out she left her cart behind and stormed out of the store to confront me. I get in my car to drive off, but she's standing in front of it so I can't go anywhere. She's also giving me a tongue lashing that I'm too checked out to really pay attention to. Great. I'm already on my last nerve, and this woman is really pushing it. The manager sticks his head out of the door and hollers, "Ma'am!" She turns and makes a shushing motion towards him. He hollers, "Ma'am!" one more time, and she hollers back, saying, "I'm dealing with your employee since you're too much of a sissy to do it yourself." He bristles and says, "Madam." She cuts him off with, "Shut the F up," which she screeched at the top of her lungs. He shrugs and I watch him go back inside, fiddle with the locks, flip the sign to closed, and pull down the shades. As I'm watching this, she gets annoyed that I'm not paying her my full attention, and she yells, "What are you looking at that's so important to ignore me?" I just pointed at the shop and said, "They just closed and locked the doors." I'm not sure what she screamed since it was pretty incoherent, but she did run towards the door. Seeing my chance, I drove off, leaving her pounding on the door and cursing. It must have been so satisfying to see the store manager lock up for the night, leaving her out in the cold. That's some instant karma right there. You got your lasagna and a show, while she got a lesson in humility, or at least we can hope she did. That manager deserves a thanks for how they handled the situation. He knew when to step back and let karma do its thing, and that's more than you can come to expect from a grocery store manager. Story 3. I'm a patient, not a car valet. Several years ago, I had to call an ambulance in the middle of the night due to breathing problems. After being checked in the emergency room, I was admitted to the hospital for several days to get breathing treatments every 4 hours. When they discharged me, the transport guy wheeled me to the main entrance in a wheelchair. He got a call that he was needed again while we were waiting for my ride. I told him to go. I can sit on the bench outside the door and wait for my ride. He took off with the wheelchair. Nearby was the stand for the car valets. As I was sitting there, this woman yakking on her phone walked up and dropped a car valet ticket in my lap. I said, "Lady, I am not a car valet, I am a patient." She walked off still yakking on her phone. I yelled it once again and she just waved over her shoulder as she walked back inside to stand in the air conditioning. I sat there in my pajama pants, t-shirt, and house slippers, a small bag with my wallet, phone, and keys on my lap, and an oxygen bottle beside me. When my sister-in-law arrived to pick me up, I walked to the car, passing a trash can on the way. The valet ticket went in the trash can. I wonder how long it took her to get her car without the ticket. Story 4. I'm the delivery guy, not a porch pirate. This just happened and I had to post it. My husband and I both work for Amazon Flex, which has freelance drivers deliver packages to different areas that are a little off the beaten path. This way everyone, even those who live in tiny forgotten towns that are surrounded by cornfields, will get their packages in a timely manner. Today, my husband was doing a block in such an area. It's early in the day, and the car is full of packages when he entered into small town. It was the kind of place that had a post office, a gas station, an old mill, and a sheriff. It's the place where everyone knows everyone because they're all related by blood or marriage. So, when my husband started making stops at houses in town in an unfamiliar car, everyone noticed. My husband didn't even realize that he was being watched. It's just another stop on his delivery route. Then he goes to drop off a package at a house at the end of a dead-end road. He does the drop at the door, sends the notice to the customer that the package has been delivered, and gets back in the car to go to the next stop. Except now the road was blocked by a sheriff's car. My husband stops, and the sheriff approaches him, telling him that he had received some calls about him, a suspicious man that was going from house to house and had packages in his vehicle. My husband gives him his ID and tells him, "I work for Amazon. I just delivered a package to that house back there. These other packages are for other customers." The sheriff takes a look at my husband's ID, then his phone to take a look at the app. Then the sheriff looks at his own phone before going to the house he just left to see if the package was there. The sheriff then looks past him and sees someone watching them. My husband described the look the sheriff gave the person as a mix of course, and, "Are you kidding me?" The sheriff then tells my husband that he had been accused of being a porch pirate before stomping past him to scream at the person watching them. The sheriff apparently not only knew the person who called to report my husband as a porch pirate, but the delivery he had just done was to the sheriff at his house. The sheriff went off on the nosy neighbor saying, "Don't they have anything better to do, wasting police time?" And how, yes, he was sure that he was telling the truth since he had received the delivery notice on his phone, and the package was on his porch. The sheriff came back and thanked him for his time, and sent him on his way. My husband was annoyed that he was held up for over 20 minutes, but I think this story was worth it. Given the situation, I think it turned out pretty good for your husband. It's nice that the person he was delivering to turned out to be the town sheriff that the neighbor was whining and complaining to. You'd think if you saw someone dropping off a package, you wouldn't jump straight to accusing them of being a thief. Some people just have nothing better to do than complain and meddle in other people's business. Story 5. I cannot escort your kid. My ex-wife was a school teacher. As such, I always volunteered to help around the school and help her and other teachers with some of the things they needed help with, like artistic bulletin boards and such. One day I took her to school and the staff had a meeting. I was working on replacing the artwork in the bulletin board near the front to match the current seasons and events before I go to work. I had my visitor badge on and everything. In came this crazy lady with her child. She walks up to me and says, "Here, please take him to the cafeteria. I am in a hurry." For context, you should know that in my country, unless it is your job, you can get into a lot of trouble if I had agreed to take someone's random child. I told her that I don't work here. You will have to take him in yourself, while pointing to my visitor badge, which she 100% ignored. She proceeded to say, "You will take my child and escort him because I pay your salary." I smiled and politely said again, "I don't work here, and no, you don't." I turned to continue working on the board and she grabbed me to turn me around, and my visitor badge hit her square in the eye. She screamed and yelled and accused me of assaulting her. At the noise, the staff who just finished their meeting came out and my ex-wife and the principal came toward us to find out what happened. At this point, the Karen was already on the phone with the police and accusing me of assaulting her. I explained the situation to my ex and the principal and asked them to prepare the camera footage for the police when they arrive. The Karen is now screaming at the principal, demanding I get fired. The principal keeps explaining to her that I don't work here and that I am a volunteer who is married to one of their teachers, but she won't have it. The police arrive and take our statements. The staff showed them the video and it was clearly her fault. They ask me if I want to press charges and I say yes. She was taken away in handcuffs, kicking and screaming. She hit the officers in the process, which added to her charges. She ended up with 6 months in prison and 500 hours of community service. Story 6. I don't work here, but I'll pretend I do. Living in Japan, you will see that most of the convenience stores have either Vietnamese staff or foreign workers from Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, etc. Service jobs are greatly understaffed there, so you will mostly see one Japanese worker and multiple foreign workers at the minimum wage jobs. I, an Indian, also worked at the store for 3 years part-time during university. Back then, in my 3rd year of working, I was made leader of night shift, running the whole store at night by myself. Night shift is very different from the day shift. Besides serving the large number of customers, you have to sort out the accounts, record and check the inventory, talk with the supply people, deep clean the equipment, stocking up, cooking, etc. Fast forward to a couple years later. I am in the Japanese corporate world. Every time I go to a 2nd-tier or 3rd-tier city for business or tourism, going into a convenience store, I am greeted with, "Thanks for the good work," meant for coworkers, instead of "welcome" and "please come again," which is meant for customers. Most of the time, I just say it back. Sometimes when I am in a foul mood, I patiently correct them, telling them I don't work here. As they say in China, never slap a smiling face. I got an apartment in a posh, high-income district in Tokyo, famous for being populated by white expats. At about 2 a.m., I go to the convenience store. 7-Eleven was a bit nearer, but am partial to that store since I had worked there before. It was a big store, and full of irritated drunk salarymen and rich brats. The only employee there was confused, panicking, and overworked. The supply truck guy is yelling. Salarymen are yelling. It's a mayhem. The employee eyes me and yells, "Hey, what took you so long? Come and help me a bit." I almost lost my temper too, but then smiled and thought, let's do this. Tomorrow's Saturday anyway. I first met up with the annoyed supply guys. They have to bring their trucks to every store in Tokyo, so staying at one store for more than a couple minutes would disrupt the whole schedule. I had the supply checked, dialed in the records, got the honko from the usual place, stamped and finished the procedure. Next, I called the taxi for the passed-out people and escorted them to a safer place. Then I took up the register, and in the next 10 minutes, all the customers were served and the store was empty. The employee gave a huge sigh of relief, closed his eyes, and got on his knees. I quietly went to stock the ice cream supply in the cold cases. My dude, after a bit of a rest, said, "Thank you for the efficient help. By the way, you're not wearing your store jacket. Could you wear it, please, or it would be super unprofessional?" I told him, "I don't have a jacket, I don't even work here." He was like, "What? Didn't the manager send you as a replacement?" I said, "Nope. I live in the apartment a block away and came here to shop." I told him I used to work for the same chain many years ago, so I was familiar with the procedures. He was very, very embarrassed and said sorry. I was like, "Chill, man, I'm gonna come here often, so I am in your care." It felt good overall, and taught me again as well that as a senior guy in a corporate headquarters, I must always be mindful of the mental and physical health of the people on the front lines. I must not leave them with any inadequacies, as they are the ones who represent the big company to the world and do the actual work. I think about these situations sometimes when I'm visiting the places I've worked in the past. It wouldn't be hard for me to hop back there and just start helping. I wouldn't want to ever go back full-time to working at any of them, but some days I think it'd be nice to work a few hours again.